Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 562 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together, as well as college students together. Fun fact, I reinvented my career so many times. Originally, I had a degree in accounting, so I went from college into the largest publicly traded finance company. Then I left to focus on accounting, so I worked my way up from staff accountant to CFO in Manhattan. Then I became an entrepreneur, focusing on web design and search engine optimization. Then I decided to get into fraternity and sorority life. I started working as the executive director of Sigma Pi, and then I started Greek University as a speaker 10 years ago. It has been a wild ride, but reinvention has been such an incredible process. And I have to tell you, I learned so much about myself along the way. Let's talk a little bit more about that with our next guest. Jen Fort is an author, a coach, and a natural born encourager. She is on a mission to share life's wisdom gathered from personal experience, observation, and genuine connection. Her Wisdom and Warnings collection contains over 8,000 nuggets of valuable advice for navigating life's challenges, curated into over 24 life milestone categories. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Hey, Mike. I'm
Hey,
so
hey.
happy to be here.
It is an honor to have you on the show. I think that our college student listeners are going to be able to learn an awful lot about you and your journey that you've been on. I think there's so much wisdom that you have in those books. So let's talk a little bit more about it. I know you recently went through a career reinvention, and most people assume that there's just one right career path for them for their entire life, when there actually might be several. So I'm wondering, how did you know that it was time for a career reinvention?
Well, I got laid off. No, that
Okay.
was the pin in the balloon. But I think where it happened was, like you said, people think they have one path, and my path was dictated mainly because I was a single parent. And I had to climb that ladder and provide for my family. So I didn't feel like there was the opportunity. However, I found myself in a high pressure job to the point where both of my colleagues dropped dead from heart attack within 3 weeks of each other.
Wow.
And that was pretty much a slap in the face to say that something has to change. So in my case, I changed departments because I love the company. And what I realized in the afterwards was I was running away from a department and stress. I wasn't going towards something. So when the layoff happened, it was a great time to kind of just get back to yourself and say, all right, what do I want? Who am I? What am I good at? What do I want to do? That's how it
Yeah.
happened. And
Yeah.
I went
Sometimes
from,
it's necessity.
yeah, it was a necessity. And I did a total 180. I would have never expected myself to be writing some books and coaching other folks that have gotten laid off. But it was that self-reflection that helped point me in that direction.
Yeah, I think it is good for us to sit and just kind of reflect for a little bit anyway to figure out, are we really on the right path? Are we happy with what we're doing day in and day out? Do we feel like we're making an impact? I think all of those things are questions that you really have to kind of sit with and ask yourself from time to time on a regular basis, not just once, but
Annually.
multiple times, you know?
Yeah, I
But
love
look,
doing that annually. And
yeah.
here's another thing. If you're already out of college and you're in your career, figure out what you're doing, but what are you gravitating towards? I worked with a woman who was a clinician working with patients, but over the span of her career, she realized she was gravitating towards the families and advocating for families. So it was one of those things, she had the light bulb of, well, this is my job, but this is what is really lighting me on fire, and getting back in touch with that. But if you're in college, sitting in on lectures on something totally unrelated to your major and seeing, is there a spark there or not?
Yeah, that's great advice. I really like that. And I'm lucky to find that spark, but sometimes it takes time. You don't
It does.
necessarily know that immediately. And so you do have to give that some time to kind of form. And you might not know it in college, and that's okay. You know, there's not a big problem with that. But, of course, the college students are going to need a job. I mean, it's
Mhm.
very expensive right now. The cost of everything is going up. So they need a job when they graduate. Now, the issue is that networking to find a job when you're actually ready to graduate college and then go into the workforce, sometimes that could be a little bit uncomfortable, especially if you're not an extrovert naturally. So talk to us about this idea of connect working and why is that more effective than more traditional networking?
Yeah. So in my job as a career coach, networking is like a dirty word. People just cringe when I don't want to network. I'm no good at it. But when you break it down, it's really about human connection. And if you can turn the cube and look at it from more of a human connection perspective and with curiosity and more of a give and take, because a lot of people view networking as I'm going to contact Mike because I think he can help me get a job. But in actuality, you want to connect with someone, start a bit of a relationship, a little give and take, and you're helping each other and focus on what you can do to help them as much as they're helping you. And I call this safari strategy when I'm talking to career folks. I'm like, you'll learn if you ever go on safari, you never go at the animal straight on because it produces anxiety, it scares them away, it's a little too aggressive. But if you can come at it from the side, and it's just a little bit more engaging. So when you're approaching people, come at it from don't just come right at them because you are going to scare them away.
That's really good advice. And I'll tell you what, I think it's just it's straight on. I think a lot of college students, when they're out networking, they feel this need that they need to like impress this person that they're talking to and give them all of their credentials and basically say, hire me. It's just the
Yeah.
wrong approach. It's just a little bit too head on. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, if you learn more about them and the conversation is more about
Yep.
them and what they need, and
Yep.
then you can kind of form that conversation to say, oh, I have experience in X, Y, and Z. So you might be talking to a business owner who is maybe, I don't know, it's a landscaping company, and you're
Mm-hmm.
talking to the CEO, you want a job. So find out more about this landscaping company. How long have you been in business? Where are your clients? Are they just in this town? Are they all over the state? And what problems do you have right now? You
Mm-hmm.
might actually learn that he's having a problem, let's say, getting visibility on social media. Maybe it's he's having
Yes.
trouble with Instagram or TikTok and he doesn't really understand the technology. And
Mm-hmm.
now you can basically say, hey, I did some social media work for my fraternity or sorority and we got some really good results. Can I show you what we did? And now you are basically solving his problem. And now all of a sudden he sees the experience that you're going to be able to bring to the table.
Right.
So you're coming at it from the side instead of head on. So I really like what Jen is talking about here.
And they're being useful, and realize that being useful and offering something without an expectation of a job.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even expect getting payment for that. Hey, I want to help you. I
Hmm.
noticed, when I was looking at your company, your website, I've done some website work. I would love to help improve the visibility, or I would love to help do some social media for you. Let me just help you and see where that leads. And when you're having those conversations, as opposed to here's who I am, here's where I went to school, here's what I studied. I like to call it the why behind the high. It's a high, but why should they care about you? What is it about you? It's, well, you know what? Here's what makes me tick. I
Hmm.
love branding. I just had an internship and I loved branding and finding the aha moments behind the data. And then they kind of learn more about you as opposed to your credentials. They're making that,
Hmm.
again, it's that personal connection.
Yeah, I like that. Now, let's assume for a moment that they're going to a conference and they meet a bunch of business owners. And let's say they get those business cards from these people that they meet. Okay, so we have some leads that we can follow up on for
Mhm.
the job search, for an internship, for their career, what have you. So what are the next steps now that you've identified a few people that are in your target career, your target company? What are the next steps after that?
Well, the first step is do not go to ChatGPT and have it write you an email and send that same email to 20 different people. No, 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 no. Again, it's that human connection. So when you come back, that when you're in those conversations, plant a seed. Try and find something out about them, where they go to school, where do they live, what are they interested in, where do they work, something about them that you can use that in your follow-up. So again, you want to be getting personal with them to a degree, and keeping good notes. You have to do that. So then when you get back, you're going to look at this list of 20 people and just prioritize. Who did I have the best connection with? Then you're going to do a little bit of research. And yeah, it's going to take a bit of time. But when you add those personal nuggets in there, oh my gosh, I just watched your TED Talk as well. Amazing. I love the point about blah, blah, blah. And don't feel like you have to connect with them the day after. If you've made an impact, okay, so I just had this lovely experience. I met like 80 people in the publicity, in the media sector, 80 people. I'm following up with 60 of them, and that's a lot of people. So I even took it to the step where I went and I recorded a 30-second video thank you. I wore the same shirt, the same area, and I made a reference to we met, da da da, and it was a visual. So you have to think about things that are going to make you stand out and prioritize and get personal.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, anytime somebody reaches out to me, they're looking for something, they're looking for a job, they're looking for a connection to somebody I know, what have you. If they actually take the time to, let's say, listen to one of my podcast episodes or look at my social media account, and then in the email follow-up, they're actually commenting about some piece of content that I've put out in the world, then I'm like, oh, okay, this person actually has done their homework and I can see they've done some research on my
Mhm.
organization. It just feels good as opposed to just somebody just asking for something, but they haven't really done their homework in terms of who I am or
Yeah.
maybe what I want out of this situation, right?
Right. And when you're on social media, there's everyone's inclination is let me just follow them. Let me hit the like button. Hey, great idea. No, give it more than 12 words. Give it some meat. Give it some insight. Appreciate what they've done. Whoever you're engaging with has put forth time and effort to put forth that message. So you put forth a little bit of effort as well on why did you appreciate it? And
Mhm.
honestly, if you don't appreciate it and you can't make that connection, then should they be at the top of your list? And what are you in it for? Are you really in it for a genuine connection and to help each other? Or is this just you're adding to numbers? So
Yeah.
get to the root of why you're connecting with this person. Your time is just as important as everyone else's. So why waste time with people that you really don't want to connect with?
Hmm.
Get back
Great
to being
points.
genuine.
Hmm. So I think the other issue that I think college students kind of struggle with is their own confidence because they don't have a lot of work experience at this point. So if they're lacking confidence and they're going to these networking situations, what is the best way to boost that confidence so they do feel comfortable in going out and putting themselves out there?
Mhm. So I think this all starts with building the skills. And if you have the time before you go to these networking events, start engaging with people just in the area. Go to a bookstore, engage with people, ask them a curious question. Have you ever heard of this author? Uh, Bookstores are great places. Sporting events are other great places. Just start learning to have little connections, curious connections and conversations. And then when you're at those networking events, be curious and ask them questions. You know, what are you looking to get out of this networking event from the person that's supporting and attending it? You know, do they have jobs to fill? Are they just there? What is the reason that they're there? And it can be, so say that they are supporting High Point University. They're
Mhm.
at a networking event for High Point. They've got their table, they're talking to people. Curious, did you go to High Point? What year did you graduate? What did you love about High Point? Asking them because, again, they're there, it's their time, their effort, and you want to see them as a person if you want them to see you as a person. And if
Mhm.
you can make it about a thing, sometimes severe introverts, that's probably not a good way to put it, but people that are super introverted, totally the opposite of me, what I've learned is make it about a thing. Don't make it about me. Like don't promote yourself about something. Maybe it's a cause that the company is interested in. I noticed that your company does a lot of work with, Habitat for Humanity. And make it about a thing and then try and tie it back to who you are. So again, that's safari strategy. Don't go at them straight on, kind of make it about a thing, kind of takes the pressure off.
Yeah, that's perfect. Very nice. And you also talk about some things that college students should have at all times. What are some of the things that they should be having?
Well, what should they have? Okay, so you really need to have, people call it the elevator pitch. I call it the why behind the high.
Hmm.
So get comfortable with talking about yourself in a little snippet. Who are you? What gets you excited? And why should somebody care? So always have that. Make sure, go into LinkedIn and create yourself a good, strong, professional page. Get
Hmm.
away from the cartoony banners. Don't put up a picture of your vacation. Don't have a picture of you on vacation on your back. Put some time in, and at least the top part, nice professional banner. Use Canva. Go get a nice professional template. Super simple. Do a nice picture, plain background. Don't use your high school or your college graduation picture. Do something different that looks more professional. Give yourself a good title. So once you've got that, and keep LinkedIn on your phone, get the app, because you can very simply click the search bar. There's a little box. There's your QR code. Boop, QR code here. Love the conversation. This was really engaging. I would love to catch up. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Here, scan my code. Boom, you're connected right there, as opposed to having to go home and follow up.
Hmm.
So have those kind of, the who are you, a way to connect. If you are in any kind of marketing, or maybe you're a UX designer or something, you've done a lot of philanthropy, whatever, go get yourself your own website, spinnable website, grab your name as a URL, put up a one-page website, and you can share that as well. Super simple these days.
Very easy. I love it. Okay. So the relationship between the college student and their parents is going to change a little bit from, let's say, senior year of high school. And then as they move into college, now suddenly they're on their own. So what should that relationship look like once they move away? Do you advocate that students should be talking to their parents every day by phone? What does that look like?
This is the perfect time. Actually, before you leave for college is probably the best time to put together some new rules of engagement,
Hmm.
and take the ownership on yourself. Just say, Mom, Dad, I really appreciate you've raised me so well. Now's my time to really start becoming an adult. How about we set one call a week? Sundays, let's FaceTime. But if it's urgent, feel free to reach out. But please don't be offended if I can't respond immediately, because I'm super busy with my classes. But if you set those boundaries, and you both respect them, your parents are going to be super upset. They're probably going to be more anxious than you are, but praise them for what they've done for you, getting you ready to go to college. And kind of frame it around, this is helping me become a really strong independent adult. And here's a really here's a really great, if you call your parents and you vent, which you're going to, you're frustrated, you're depressed, you're just really sad, whatever. Vent to your parents, fantastic. But don't forget to let them know when you're feeling better. Because you may have moved on the very next day, but your parents may be still stuck in the, oh my gosh, my daughter's really struggling. So you got to let them know the good and the bad. And then appreciate them for letting you grow up and letting you move on. But just know that they're going to be as anxious as you are.
Yeah, as a parent, I can tell you we're definitely anxious. There's no question about it. But we want them to just kind of leave the nest and be successful because that's what we've been preparing them for 18 years. It's
Yeah.
all,
Well,
for that moment.
and what's really a cool thing to do is if you haven't left, for somebody has not left for college yet, those couple months before they leave for college, help your parent get into a hobby. Like, hey, let's go join a pickleball league together for the summer. Help your parent get engaged with something that they can, one, it's a bonding with you and them over the summer. It's like the last bonding before you fly. And then when you leave for college, they're ingrained in something that they enjoy, that they can continue on. It'll keep them occupied. And then they also will have this band of people that will support them. Hey, are you going to be a pickleball Thursday night? And they're going to know that you, as the child, left for college, and you have kind of, in a very ninja-like way, you've helped build an external support system for them to help them acclimate while you're gone.
Mm. That's a great tip, especially for an empty nester like me, trying to figure out what do I do with all this free time now.
Is that not awesome and covert?
Very covert.
They'll
I
have
like
no
that.
idea that that's what you were doing.
That's great. Now, the college students, I know that they are going to start getting into relationships as well in college. That's something that happens, but
Sure.
sometimes the relationships don't exactly go as planned. So,
Right.
what's your advice for college students or even some of the new graduates that are having trouble getting to happiness after they have this messy breakup?
Yeah, well, I always say feelings fully felt fade. So you have to acknowledge your feelings, but you have to take ownership for what happened on your side. There's three sides to every truth: side A, side B, and the middle. So you have to take ownership for what your piece of it was. Don't react with emotion and get off of social media. Have a respectful conversation in a public place if you need to, but be respectful that the other person is hurting just as much as you are. But you have to keep strong boundaries. And that's I draw a lot of these from when I went through a divorce 30 years ago. It took a while. It's not going to be an overnight. If you end things with a relationship, you're already further down the path of getting over it when that person is just starting. So you have to recognize they're going to have to go through that path as well. So giving them, you may not like them anymore, they may have done you dirty, whatever, but still giving them respect and not reacting, taking the high road, it's going to pay off in the end. And it's not for them, it's for you. You have to get back to your own peace, and staying engaged in negativity is not going to help you.
Perfect. All right. Now, there's a bunch of bad news out there. Unfortunately, I got to listen to the news a little bit on my trip back from North Carolina yesterday, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this news is terrible. There's rising prices for food and everything else, rising interest rates. So
Mhm.
buying a home seems unattainable, and an uncertain job market, I think, is the best way to put it. So, if college students are very fearful right now
Sure.
as they approach their career, what's your advice to them?
Take a breath. Just take a breath and know that, this is life. Life is a cycle. You're going to go through highs and lows. So you're just coming out of college where it's pretty chaotic. So buckle down. You might have to buckle down. You might have to work with you might have to be with a roommate for the next 2 years. You might have to move back with your parents. But if you do, don't go back as the child. Go back as an adult. Pull your weight, whatever you need to do. You're not going to go buy that new car. You're probably not going to get the glitzy job that's going to pay you a ton. Maybe you just have to take the job that's going to teach you for the next step. And right now is actually, I think that college graduates right now are in a really good position in the job market, in the fact that I work with people that have gotten laid off. The people that I work with, a lot of them are further in their careers, 20, 30 years in their careers, 5 years from graduation, life graduation called retirement. Well, and what companies are doing, they're getting rid of some of those higher salaries. People that have 5, 6 weeks vacation, like I did. And they're hiring younger people, college graduates, to fill some of those gaps because they're just in a different stage of life. So actually, they're in a better position for some of those jobs.
Hmm. Well, that's good. That's encouraging.
You haven't thought about it that way,
I
have
hadn't
you?
thought about it, but maybe you're right. I think
Yeah.
that's really good.
Yeah. Being young, curious, and not having 6 weeks vacation could be your superpower.
It could be right now. Yeah. And also when you think about, I know the federal government right now has lost a ton of employees too. So, maybe if you're getting into the workforce and it's, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, that might be the perfect time. Like you said, they've got
Yeah.
to backfill, and the first people they're
Mhm.
going to bring in are younger folks that command a little bit of a lower salary. But
Right.
hey, there could be, major hiring happening in the next 2 or 3 years. So we'll see how
Absolutely.
everything plays out.
So
Now,
figure,
if
so
it,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say, so during these next 2 or 3 years, view them as, what can I learn? Who can I connect with? This is you're laying this foundation,
Mhm.
because when things start turning around, you want to be on the upswing with it. So this is not, hunkering down and not doing anything. This is fertile ground for building that foundation.
Yeah, totally agree. Really
Yeah.
nice stuff. All right. Now, I do get to your area very often. My wife graduated from Westchester University, just east of where you're at. My sister-in-law lives in Ephrata, just north of where you're at. So the
Yep.
next time I find myself in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, where should I go for a great meal?
All right. I'm going to send you to King's Tavern. It's a pub, it's a tavern, but they have a pork chop that will melt in your mouth. It is fantastic. And when you're in the area, you contact me. We will go to King's for pork chops.
King's Tavern for pork chops. You don't have to ask me twice. I will definitely be there, and the food is absolutely fantastic in that area. So that's a really good reason to head to PA. So, all right, this has been a lot of fun. If our listeners, if they want to buy some of your books, or maybe they want to get some coaching from you, where should they go in order to connect?
So my books are on Amazon. It is the Wisdom in Mornings book series. My website is jen-fort.com. So you can find me there, or the books on Amazon.
Fantastic. Jen-fort.com. Thank you so much, Jen, for spending some time with us today. This has been really helpful. Thanks again.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Jen Fort, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other college students today that need to hear her words. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.